Welcome to the Elvis Workshop, everybody. We just got back from Memphis, Tennessee. In fact, we're still wearing the same clothes. We haven't even changed. So we wanted to do a little video today to talk about the memorial for Lisa Marie Presley, but we also wanted to talk about some of the other things we did on the little trip. It was about 22 hours total round trip. We left here yesterday afternoon and got back here early this evening. So when we flew into Memphis, we went to Hernando's Hideaway for dinner and ran into a few YouTubers and some of our own subscribers and saw Charlie Feathers' son Bubba perform, and it was a lot of fun.
My friend Thomas, who lives in Memphis, came and hung out with us for
That
a
was
while.
a lot of fun. Sharp dresser.
Yeah, we had Chrissy come down from...
Chrissy Boswell, yes. She used to live at the Dolan house, very good friend, and she drove down and met us there. That was pretty cool.
And our friend Henrik, naturally, he was here from Denmark. And
when we ordered the food, this is interesting. I'm going to show you a picture right here. We got the numbers. You know, when you place an order for something and you get the number that says like 72 or 76, whatever. All of the numbers were Elvis related. I took note of that while we were sitting there, that everyone was like 35, 74, 68,
50, 56.
56. It was interesting. There was no just strange number like 47 that wouldn't make any sense. It was all Elvis related just by pure coincidence. Yeah. So,
Bubba was very good. It was surprising.
Very nice guy, too.
Yeah, excellent guy. We met him, spoke to him for a while. And it's cool because he's related to Sun Records. His father.
It's a connection to Sun, yeah.
His father wrote "I Forgot to Remember to Forget" for Elvis, and then Johnny Cash went on to record that as well. So there was that connection, which was quite good.
Yeah, it was cool. And I think we all needed to see a live show. It was fun. Took our minds off of what we were there for. And after we watched a few sets, had dinner, and we left, and we drove by the mansion. Drove by Sun Records. I did not step in the hole this time. I took a picture of it. There's a pole out in front of the studio that's been removed.
Formerly a pole.
There used to be a pole there, and they removed it. And very Memphis-like, they just left a big pothole in the middle of the sidewalk. And about a year ago now, I was there in the middle of the night taking photos and stepped in said hole. So here's a picture of the hole that I stepped in right here. Anyway, so we drove by Sun Studios and drove by Graceland. It's always nice to see it. And we saw, of course, the stark reminder of what we were there for kicked in when we drove by the mansion, because we could see all the flowers on the wall and the gate and then the tent setup that they had at the top of the hill. And so it just was a very cold reminder of what we were there for. So then this morning we got up, and you can take it from there.
All right. So Rick had planned to go in at 6 a.m. The gates opened at 5, and I messaged Henrik the night before saying, I'd rather get there earlier than later, and I've heard that the crowd is going to be pretty sizable. And so I woke him up at 4 a.m. by calling him, and he got ready, came pick me up. I made a short video, posted it to Facebook, and we can link that maybe here, or...
Yeah, I'll put it on here. It scared the crap out of me.
Or we'll do a still from it.
Oh, okay, that'll work.
And the line was from the interstate all the way to the Graceland parking lot, which is probably about 1.25 miles.
Yeah.
And Henrik and I...
Bumper to bumper.
Bumper to bumper, yeah. We actually cheated. We drove past the line, went down the street a little ways, did a U-turn, came back and did a left turn, and bypassed about 1.25 miles of cars.
Yes, they were those guys that did
We were those guys. And we went in and we waited quite a while, obviously from 5 o'clock until the 7 o'clock when we were allowed to go across the street. We talked to quite a few fans. There was a young guy, he was I think 27, originally from Cincinnati, he lives in Tennessee somewhere now. Nice young guy. He's been a fan through his parents and grandparents. People in front of us, people behind us. We saw John Daly from the Elvis Pawn Shop and spoke to him for quite a while. And then Rick, Trudy, and Chrissy, they arrived.
We finally showed up
and joined us. not bringing any coffee nor donuts after we held a spot in the line for them for almost 2 hours.
That's true.
And then the line started filing in, and it was, I would say, orderly chaos. Graceland, I was told there was a memo that said they were expecting 250 people. And it was probably closer to 5,000, maybe 6,000 people. And they didn't really...
There were no bathrooms, no porta potties on the property. The only ones were across the street, and one of them, the door didn't even lock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the security really didn't have a plan.
They were not helpful at all, as usual.
And then we went in and we crossed the street. We're all given these little heart stamps to signify we've been through security. And we had to show that in order to get one of these programs and then proceed through the gate. And I'm like, well, that's high security. I'll never wash my hand again.
By the way, speaking of that, so we each got a program, and it's what you see here in the middle of the table. They're already on eBay, and I just think that's pathetic. Listen, if you want one, you can go to Graceland.com and print one off your own. It's not the same as this one. It's going to be a little bit different. It's the exact same layout, but it's going to be on separate sheets of paper. But it's on eBay, and I just think that's pretty low class myself.
Well, the funny thing too is what we just said before about it. The price that it's going for is probably what the person who's going to end up buying it for would have paid for a ticket to get to Graceland,
an airplane ticket,
or gas or whatever, you know, and maybe a room for the night.
It's just really sad to see the vultures are already out. It's on eBay. Multiple copies of it are on eBay, and it's just sad to see. But let's talk about the actual memorial. I said this probably 10 times today, and I'm going to say it again right now in this video. To me, there was no other place I would have rather have been today than there. The service was very touching. It was very emotional. It is something I will never forget, and I'm just so glad that I was there. Had I not gone, and I sat at home and watched it or heard about everything, I would have just been so frustrated at myself for not going. Everybody makes mistakes in their lives, and there's things that you wish you would have done and should have done and didn't do. And I would have had complete regret for not going. So I'm so happy that I went. So we're both going to talk about some highlights. Jerry Schilling, you know, he was there the day Lisa was born. He knew her entire life, and he was at the hospital when she passed.
He managed her career for
her career. He knew her better than almost anybody else on this planet. And actually, my heart ached for him today. His stories were funny. He made everybody laugh, but we could feel his pain while he was talking. And his voice wobbled a little bit here and there, and it was just very authentic and real. Priscilla, when she came up, she could barely speak. In fact, she just read a poem that her granddaughter wrote in lieu of speaking because she just couldn't speak. And it was, again, my heart felt for her. It was very sad. And to be there live is different than live streaming it. To see her standing right in front of us and having to do that, have that microphone in her face, knowing the whole world is watching, and there's all these thousands of people in there, and to have her get up there and talk after losing her daughter had to be one of the most difficult things she's ever done. The music was amazing. I posted on my Facebook, and him and I spoke about it today too. Never in my life did I ever think I'd be standing in the front yard of Graceland watching Axl Rose play a piano in front of the house and singing November Rain.
Yeah.
I love Guns N' Roses. I've seen them multiple times in concert, but the thought that I would stand and see Axl Rose playing a piano in the front yard of Graceland is something I never thought would ever happen. And Smashing Pumpkins singer Billy Corgan and Alanis Morissette. So you could really feel the 90s vibe there. You know, yeah. Lisa was born in 1968. Her musical heyday would have been the 90s. And so we've got Smashing Pumpkin singer Alanis Morissette and Axl Rose there.
And the tracks they did, the Billy Corgan's track was just beautiful.
He played the acoustic guitar. It was gorgeous.
And just a wonderful track. And Alanis Morissette, she has one of the most powerful voices I've ever heard. I've seen her live, and it's just amazing to see her alive. But the track she played or she performed today was very touching as well. The lyrics were very fitting. And,
Yeah.
And then you can't go wrong with November Rain.
Yeah.
And it wasn't November, but we had threats
Close
of
enough,
rain.
yeah. Oh, that's another thing too. I'm glad you said that. That reminded me. So they called for 40% chance of rain. We expected rain. We expected freezing temperatures. The weather was perfect. It was exactly what you would want it to be for January.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't windy. It wasn't freezing. There's not one drop of rain. But this is the interesting thing, is that it was very overcast and gloomy. And as soon as the memorial started, the sky opened up and the sun popped out, and it stayed out.
The sun it thinned in front of the sun.
Right in front of the sun.
So the
yeah.
sun was really prominent.
Yeah.
And it shone bright for Lisa today. So
It was excellent. So let's continue on about the music. We're kind of skipping ahead to the end of the memorial for this, but I wanted to continue with the music. The Blackwood brothers performed "How Great Thou Art" and "Sweet, Sweet Spirit," and it was very, very moving. It was just, there's just no way to explain it unless you were there to see it. Live streaming it, it's just not the same. To be there and to hear it live, it was amazing. Would you agree?
Yeah. At first, my initial thought of "How Great Thou Art" is, nobody does it better than Elvis, you know. It's like, that's the one I grew up on, and that's the one I go to listen to when I'm in that mood. And it's a great song. But as it went on, the emotions of the day started to kick in, and I started to get in my feelings a little bit about it. And then straight after that song, before they led into Sweet, Sweet Spirit,
This is when we all got destroyed.
Jimmy Blackwood started telling the story about how his father, James Blackwood, took him to the house to meet Lisa Marie when she was born. And Elvis came down the stairs and said, Mr. Blackwell, this is Lisa. Blackwood, I'm sorry. Mr. Blackwood, this is Lisa, my new daughter. And then he looked at Lisa and said, Lisa, this is Mr. Blackwood.
This is very funny. It's a little baby.
My hero.
Yeah.
And
he said, my father performed at Gladys's funeral. My father performed at Elvis's funeral. And now I'm performing at Lisa's funeral. And so we've come full circle. And when he said that, his voice broke up and he had to pause for a moment. And that was the end for me. That's when it was over for me. I had maintained my emotions for the entire event, but that's when it stopped. I no longer had control over my emotions.
And just talking about it again, the times that I've talked about it today and the times I posted to my Facebook about it, it's touched me over and over. And again, it's touching me now, thinking about that portion of it. But the overall service was just magnificent. And then Sweet, Sweet Spirit, some nights in his shows when he had them do it, it was great. And other nights it was like, I just want to get on to Hound Dog or something like that. But to hear these guys do it and hear it in that vein, it was brilliant.
And again, it was a song that was also performed at Elvis's funeral. So that had to be very, very emotional for the Blackwood brothers themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So the whole thing was amazing. It was so great to be there. The crowd was, we were in the cattle section, but everybody acted perfectly. Nobody was cheering and clapping like it was a show. Everybody was extremely quiet when they needed to be quiet, and it just went off without a hitch.
The only time we had really any applause was after the How Great Thou Art. The crowd did applaud for that, and then after that they were quiet again. It was mostly respectful people. There was no real problems. We had one heckler down at the street when we were all lined up to go across the street, but one person out of that many didn't spoil it. You could barely make out anything he said.
Grayson looked beautiful as always. The property looked great. Of course, the grass is dormant this time of year, so you expect that. But the home, it was just so regal. They set it up perfectly to where the mansion was kind of a backdrop for everything, and it was perfectly done. It was really, really well done, and it was just such a great experience to be there, and I would not have wanted to be anywhere else. I said that all day long. I've said that same thing over and over, and it's just because it's how I feel. I could not imagine myself being anywhere else.
And again, in the crowd there, we were about 8 people, 10 people back from the driveway where they had a rope there to stop people coming closer. And our view was as good as we were going to get, but still, I could see everything fine. We were able to take videos or photos or anything. And again, prior to it, we had about 2 hours to wait before it started once we got to that position. And the fans around were wonderful. We had like a 15-year-old young girl standing next to us, maybe a little more of an Austin fan, but still she was into Elvis and she was there to pay her respects.
So listen, I've been going to Graceland since 1993. Some of you will laugh and say I've been going since 81 or whatever, 82. That's okay. Today, the crowd was outnumbered teenage girls over everybody else. Men our age, our demographic, older women, which the crowd used to be there'd be people like me and to 10 older women. And I'm not saying that in an offensive way. It's just people that saw Elvis during his day and were fans when he was doing his thing, and they're at an older age now. Today it was 5-1 teenage girls to us. And it was really cool to see a younger demographic that was very dominant there. There was a lot of that, which is, I think it's awesome. I think it's great. And what he said is probably the key, is that they're fans of the movie and Austin Butler, who was there, by the way, and he's movie star handsome. Seeing him in person he's got it. He has everything. Exactly. And a lot of them were there probably because of that. Hopefully that sticks, though. Hopefully they get the Elvis bug and not just Austin fans at the end of the day. But it was so nice to see that the crowd was predominantly teenage girls.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, they were very respectful as well.
Yes.
It wasn't ooh and ah, it's Austin. It was, they wanted to see, but...
And when Austin came out, by the way, nobody said anything. The crowd was very quiet and respectful. Mm-hmm. You could tell the prominence of the celebrity by how many phones went up, because people were taking photos.
Very true.
Like LaToya Jackson showed up. No offense to LaToya, but people say, "Oh, there's LaToya," that was it. But man, Austin Butler came out, all the phones went up like this, and you're having to kind of duck around just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
When Priscilla came out, obviously, same thing. So you could tell the prominence of who was there by how many phones went up in the air. But everybody was quiet. Nobody was like, "Oh, there's Austin, woo, Austin," and none of that crap. It was super quiet, very respectful, but you could see all the phones going up.
And there were people there from 8 to 80. The only thing missing was the popcorn and candy.
Okay, here we go. You're fired. Okay, so the yeah, go ahead.
The majority of the guests, the honored guests, came across from the left-hand side of the house, across the driveway in front of the house, and went to the tent area.
It would have been like this. There's Graceland right there. The stage was right here, and the side where the chapel is and the guest house over here. They were coming through the back driveway by bus or shuttle, and then they would walk up the side of the driveway and walk into the front to the stage right here. So we were stationed right here. So basically, it was almost like a red carpet entrance to where they would walk across this open area in between the trees, and so everybody got a really good look of who was coming through there, and the phones would all just start going up, but everybody was very quiet about it.
Yes. The main difference was the family came in through the side door of the house.
Yeah, they went in over here.
And then came out through the front door.
Which was awesome.
Which was great to see them coming out.
So we saw them, because of our vantage point, we could see them come up on the shuttle and then get out of the shuttle and go into the side of the house, and we all said, "Oh, they're going to come out the front door." And it was the family unit themselves, the Beaulieu's and the Presleys, and the Keoghs. It was basically the core family members. They went in the side of the house, and then about 3 minutes later came out the front door.
Yeah.
And again, dead silence. Nobody, no clapping, yelling, screaming. Everybody was great. It was really, really great. It was very sad, to be honest. It was a very somber, solemn day, but I would not have wanted to be anywhere else. It was great.
Absolutely.
So, Memorial's over, and we had a choice to make because, unfortunately, for some reason, I have flown back on Sunday nights from Memphis multiple times and go to work Monday morning, and the flights usually leave at 9:30 at night, so you have the whole day on Sunday. Today, the last flight out was at 3:10. So we only had about 2.5 hours after this memorial finished to do anything if we were going to do anything, and we wanted to go get some lunch and this and that. So we did not stay to go through Meditation Garden because we would have literally been there for hours just to go by. And I'm planning another trip to Memphis here in a couple months, so everything will still be there when I get there. So we did not go to Meditation Garden today just because we just literally did not have the time. So we left, and we went down to Marlowe's for lunch. We ate at Hernando's Hideaway last night, went to Marlowe's today. It was very nice. When we came in and sat down, Tish Henley came in right after we walked in, Elvis's nurse, for those that don't know, and Lowell Hayes, which was Elvis's jeweler, and he came over to our table because he knows Henrik very well, and chatted with us for a few minutes. I'm going to show you a couple pictures here, and it was really cool. Lowell, I've met Lowell multiple times. He doesn't know me, I don't know him, but I've met him multiple times. I bought jewelry from him. I'm not a big jewelry person, but I have bought some jewelry from him, and he has never met him, so I made sure to have them say hello to each other. So we all got photos, but it was a lot of fun. We had a good experience. And then the author of these two books here, Destined to Die Young, was sitting at the next table over, and she said, "Hey, did you buy my book?" She was just kidding. And I said, "Actually, I just did. The Destined to Die Young I already had, but then I bought Destined to Fly today, and I didn't even know she was there when I bought it." So anyway, I asked her to come over and sit at our table for a few minutes because I had a couple questions for her about these two books, and so she did, and he spoke with her too, and it was actually really cool. We had a good experience.
She's a really nice woman. She seemed pretty down to earth, you know, like when she wrote this, she uncovered a bunch of information that prompted her to write that next book, and from all accounts, like I haven't read either of them, but all accounts say that they're very good. And I purchased Destined to Die Young, and even though they're autographed copies, I had her sign it to me as well. So I've got a double signed copy.
Woo! Woo!
And but I'm looking forward to reading it. And I also picked up a copy of the complete recording sessions by Ernst Jorgensen. And I'm looking forward to adding that to my collection and then using that as reference material.
Great book.
It is a great book, and John Daly had quite a few copies there that were marked down, so I snapped one up and
the only thing I got, I didn't buy anything from any of the shops. We weren't there for that, but I did pick up the FTD. The FTD, yeah, FTD. I should know that FTD back in Memphis. Memphis Sessions,
because that's where we were.
Gatefold. That's right. So then we leave there. We leave Marlowe's. Great food as usual. I had the barbecue spaghetti, by the way. It was great. We leave there and we drove by the former site of Rustwood Park, and that's prominently showcased in the new Elvis movie. Singing the wrong song, but anyway, so we went by the marker there, so you can see that here. We dropped by Sun Records again. He was able to get into, where did you go?
I went into the control room, and I got to make a little...
How cool is that? You do not get to do that on the tours. Now, if you rent the studio, you're free to go into the control room, but if you're just a guest on a tour, you do not get to go in there. So he not only got to go in there, but we have a photo evidence, so I'll show you that right here.
And
cool.
I had a picture made where I was sitting in Sam's chair at the console.
Where rock and roll was born.
Please ignore the keyboards because they're a little bit more modern. But
excuse me.
But yeah, it is. That's like a bucket list thing crossed off just for me. You know, it's like,
how cool is that to sit in the very spot Sam Phillips sat when he hit that record button and recorded Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis, Howlin'
Wolf, Carl Perkins,
everything.
All of them.
And not just him, but Jack Clement and the others that followed.
Marion.
Scotty. Marion.
Yep.
Yeah.
But just to be in that spot, in that room, where that history was made is pretty awesome. Now, I've been in there. I didn't go in there today. We were out doing something else. But I've been in there too, and it is awesome. If you ever get the chance, take it. It's really cool. It's really cool.
You don't you really don't get the chance very often. So you've got to, the same as the memorial today, you've got to take these chances, you know, like this COVID stuff taught us both. Life is way too short, and it's all about the experience, you know, like.
All they can do is tell you no.
That's right. And yeah, to go in there for me was a lifelong dream. I am like the Sun guy almost.
He's a one-trick pony.
A one-trick pony. That's
all he does is Sun Records.
Yes. But
that's not true. It's just a joke. But
it's our little joke. But yeah, for me, Sun is where it all started, and it just is amazing. The growth in those 5 singles just blows me away. So we'll forget about that and we'll move on to the next part of this.
So we're now running out of time in our day, and we were deciding between a couple different things that we were going to do. We were going to hit up a record store. We were going to go by the plastic products place. And when I looked at my watch, I thought, oh man, our flight's leaving in 2 hours, and we're driving around Memphis. We got to go now. So. Yeah. We just headed right to the airport. We had a ride. We didn't have to return a rental car or anything like that. So we just had a ride. We just got dropped off at the front. Anyway, we get up there. We say goodbye. We walked in.
Stop, just a sec. We'll go backwards. Here are a couple of the other things that we saw while we were there in 22 hours. We saw where 1414 Getwell Avenue was. We went past Audubon. We went past the field that Elvis got off of the train at. When Wertheimer was taking the photographs in '56, we went past at least one of Sam Phillips' previous homes.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
We went
Crown Electric
by the actual Crown Electric, not the one that everybody thinks it is, which is the one everybody thinks it is on Poplar, but this is in a whole different area further out past Sun. And that's where Elvis actually worked, is in this building.
I don't know if this really counts or not. On the way to the hotel, we did pass the cemetery where Sam Phillips was buried. It was closed. It was late, but we did drive by it. Which is why it was on the route to the hotel. Oh, the Memphian. We went by the
Memphian. We went, obviously went to Graceland last night to see it under lights. We got out. We did, a couple of little videos and stuff. Henrik from Denmark was making videos all the way through for he's the president of the fan club there, and he makes videos for his own,
for Memphis Mansion.
Memphis Mansion, and also for the fan club, because they can't get enough of this stuff. It's really on another level.
And after the memorial today, we did a piece on Memphis Mansion News. We did a Memphis Mansion TV. We did a 5-minute, 10-minute video today, out right after the memorial, out on the street by the wall, by the gate.
Yeah, so we did all of that in 22 hours, and now fast forward, we're at the airport.
Yeah, so we get dropped off, we walk in, and
I had to go and get my
He
ticket.
got flagged.
I had some issue with my ticket, so
we had to split up.
And we split up. And all of a sudden my phone buzzes, and I look down, and there's this photograph of...
So I'm at the airport, and Trudy's with us, and she looks over and she says, "That looks like Baz Luhrmann right there." And I looked over and I said, "Holy crap, that's because it is Baz Luhrmann." So I exited the line immediately, and I walked over to where he was, but he had his back to me. He was going through security, and I panicked a little bit, thinking that he was going to get away from me without me getting a photo. So I took this stupid selfie right here, and I still wasn't 100% sure it was him. But when he got cleared through security, I'm on the other side of the barrier, and I can't get to where he's at. So I just said, "Hey, Baz," and he turned around and he looked at me, and I still wasn't sure because I was shocked. And I said, "Would you mind if I get a photo with you?" And he said, "No, of course not." And he came over, and it was Baz Luhrmann. So he came over, and he was very cordial, very nice. We took this photo right here, and he didn't seem to be any kind of a rush or any kind of a rush. He was totally engaged in the conversation. I told him how much I love Moulin Rouge. I know that the Elvis movie just came out, but I've always loved his movies. And he was appreciative of that. But then I told him how many times I saw the Elvis movie in the theater, and I told him why. The first time that I saw it, my head was just spinning around in circles, and I literally lost sleep that night. If you go back on my YouTube channel, you can see my reaction video to seeing the movie the first time. And I told him that it bothered me in a way to where I could not sleep because it was on my mind too much. I don't know if the word bothered is the correct term, but that's what I'm going to use. And
you were processing.
Yeah. And I told him there was so much going on that I had to go see it again 2 days later. And then we went multiple more times. And he said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "We flew in yesterday for the memorial and we're flying home." And he was very impressed by that. He said, "You guys, where do you live?" I said, "Las Vegas." And he said, "You flew all the way here for the memorial and you're going home today?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Wow, that's really noble." He was really, really touched that we would take the time and the money and the energy and all that to come here for less than 24 hours for the memorial. That really, really impressed him, which I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. I screwed up badly, very badly. I had my absolute opportunity and chance. Now, he already knows this, so it's not like me saying this to him would have made a difference, but I was standing right in front of him, and I failed to mention how badly we need Elvis on tour, remastered and put out with additional footage. And again, he knows about this. He's commented on it multiple times. But I had the opportunity, standing right in front of him, to say, "Please do everything you can to get us a box set of Elvis on tour." And I totally dropped the ball and didn't think about it till later.
And then you spoke to his wife.
So then we ended up in the same line, even though I ditched my line and all that. We ended up going through TSA, which they are out of control. We went through TSA together, and we ended up speaking for about another 4 or 5 minutes after the TSA assaulted all of us. And we stood there and talked, and I noticed that Christine, his wife, was standing right there. And another thought popped into my head. When I saw the trailer for the movie, I was shocked by how good the wardrobe was. I was so impressed by the wardrobe and the costumes and just everything visually about the movie.
Don't forget to mention Adam's friend who was in Lansky's in the movie. You only see the back of his head.
Oh, chop that out. Anyway, so then when I saw the movie, I was even more impressed by the wardrobe and the costumes and all that. And I thought, man, if I ever had the chance to talk to her, which I never thought in a million years would ever happen, that I would love to just tell her how much I love that, what she did on that film. And the Blu-ray, there's an extras thing, and they talk about this very subject, and it's fascinating. And there I was in the airport, and there she was, and she's about this big, by the way. You can see the picture with me and her right here.
She's about this big.
She's very small, and she had a mask on, and I just went over to her. He was speaking with Baz, and so I walked over to her, and I said, "Listen, I got to just tell you this." And I told her what I just told you here. And she took the mask off, and I said, "Can we take a photo together?" She said, "Yes, of course." So I told her there's a specific scene in the movie where Austin Butler, as Elvis, jumps into the back of a limousine, and he's wearing a suit from 1974. I believe it's the Dragon suit. And he has a bandage on his hand. And I said, "You absolutely nailed it. You totally got it. That's exactly what happened. There are photos of him with that very bandage on, just like in the movie." And she said, "Let me tell you something. We looked at every photo that we could. We looked at every little snippet of video. We looked at everything. We wanted to make sure that we did it right. We had one chance to do this, and we wanted to make sure that it was done right and done properly. And we looked at everything we could in minute detail to get it right." And she said, "I'm so happy that you noticed that. That made my day that you saw that little detail." And I said, "We saw all of it, and it was great. And so I wanted to tell you personally, to your face, how much I appreciated the work that you did on that movie." And it totally made her day. That made my day to make her day. It was so great. I never thought I would ever meet this lady, this woman.
If we
and
weren't
there we
being
were.
such fanboys, we would have gone into all of the faults. But
We didn't say anything about the timeline errors and all that stuff.
No, we didn't. And it was just an honor to meet those, and they were great people.
So then
Of course, they were Australian, so there's no going.
So then they go on their way. We allow them to go. And we're standing there still kind of dumbstruck that just happened. And I look over through the TSA mugging zone, and I saw the bright red fireball hair of the Duchess of York. And I said, "Holy crap, there's Fergie. She's there too." So she came through, and the TSA physically assaulted her too. And then she saw that we were patiently waiting there because we didn't have anywhere to be. In fact, our gate was like 40 feet away. It was right there, which has never happened to me. It's always the last gate all the way at the end of Terminal D or whatever. But we were the first gate right there. she saw that we were standing there, and she could tell just by our body language that we were interested in at least saying hello. She finally came over, and she walked up to us, which was really cool. And she knew that we wanted photos. And I said, it's a pleasure to meet you. May I have a photo with you? And I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of the Royals. And I know I have people in England that are going to be watching this. I'm just an honest person. I'm just going to be honest here, too. I don't really care about the Royals. We're Americans. We don't have a royal family here other than Elvis. But it's just never been a thing for me. However, growing up, one is I always was kind of sweet on her. I thought she was very pretty. But two is I liked how she kind of rebelled against them. She was married into the Royals and then had 2 children that are royal bloodline. But she always kind of bucked the system, and she told them, hey, you guys are a bunch of clowns, right to their face. She would buck their system of the way they did things and how they treated people. And I always kind of liked that. So if there were any royals that I was ever going to meet, she was the one. She's the one.
And it happened.
And it freaking happened. There she was at the airport. And look at this stupid photo of me. I don't get nervous, and I wasn't nervous around her. I talk to her freely just like she's any other person, which she is. But I didn't know what to do with my hands, and so I just went like this, like an idiot. I'm standing there like a freaking clown.
You can't touch a royal.
Yeah, well, I don't do the whole put my arm around, I don't do that with people anyway. But I could have just put my hands down to my side or in my pockets of my jacket, but I'm standing there like a fool like this because I was just trying to be respectful to her and her space. And
plus she had a big bodyguard.
Yeah, she had a very large in charge bodyguard who was very nice. I went up and talked to him later.
And he took the photographs.
Yeah, he did. And I saw him later without her, and I just went up to him and thanked him again. He was very appreciative of it. But it was so cool to meet her.
I made the mistake of shaking his hand.
Crushed his bones.
And my hand is still hurting.
Yeah, really, really nice guy. But it was great to meet Fergie. Like I said, if there were any role that I would ever want to meet, she was the one. And it was nice to be able to talk to her. The circumstances are what they are, and it was unfortunate. She was good friends with Lisa, and she was there for the memorial, but it was over at this point, and it was a more appropriate time to take a photo, not at Graceland when everybody was in the mourning mode. So, and she was very, very nice. So, not that you'll ever watch this video, but thank you, Fergie. That was nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was like being Australian, yes, I know all about the Royals. I'm not a big fan of the Royals either, and it's all gone downhill since Diana and Fergie left because they were the highlight for everybody in the world. And to see her and be able to talk to her, she spoke to us freely. She actually
very friendly, funny too.
She held out her hands because TSA was physically assaulting her, and she's waving at us and rolling.
Yeah, she
her
noticed
eyes
that we were watching her, so she started playing it up. She's standing there like this, and the guy's like all over her, and she starts throwing her head back, rolling her eyes, looking at us and smiling. So I went like this, like do some jumping jacks, and she started doing this like this with her arm. So we were all having a bit of a laugh over it. But
Baz Luhrmann suffered the same fate. Both of their luggage were searched, which was incredible because...
This is the Duchess of York. She's known all over the world. She's not doing anything at the airport nefariously, and there they are ripping her bags apart and physically all over her. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. The TSA needs to be disbanded as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the Memphis branch anyway.
Yeah. And Las Vegas.
Yeah, but... In 26 hours, that's what we did. 22 hours.
It wasn't even a day. And so we fly back. We get back into Las Vegas, get into the car, turn the car on, and the duet with Elvis and Lisa singing "Where No One Stands Alone" was playing on the radio.
Which was what they opened.
It was prominently
the memorial with before they started into the speeches. And is what signified the ending of the memorial.
So had we had checked luggage or stopped to use the restroom or anything like that, it would have changed our timeline. We got in the car, started the car, and that same song that was prominently played during the memorial more than once, it was played in the beginning and at the end. We get in the car on the way home and turn the car on, and that same song is playing. And that was a great bow on the day, just to wrap it up. So... What a day. We are all tired. We all slept on the airplane a little bit. Very little, but a little bit. We're very, very tired, but it was worth every minute, every penny, everything. It was so awesome.
And as Rick said earlier, we didn't have the time to line up and go by the graves because we're confident that we're going to be back again, like unless something terrible happens tomorrow. But we're going to be back again, and we'll have that opportunity. Now
We can pay our respects without having to walk by the grave.
Yes, we actually had flowers there, and we'll put a picture of those because they were in a very prominent position.
Yeah, right by the meditation garden.
That would have been the only thing to actually be able to see those ourselves, but we knew they were there. Henrik and the fan club in Denmark had flowers there, and they were near ours and very prominent as well. And they got to see them as well through other photographs. But if you're familiar with Graceland, the driveway comes up and then it splits. And on the left-hand side is where we were standing. And they started the line up near the house. It went down the driveway, up around that split, and proceeded to Meditation Gardens.
We would have been in line for another 2.5 hours. When we left Marlowe's, after being at Marlowe's for an hour plus, the line was still wrapped around the driveway. We would have never made it.
And it was 6 or 8 people wide.
We would have just run out. We would have literally just run out of time. Probably wouldn't have even made it up to the meditation garden. So we just chose to leave. But we don't have to walk past the grave to pay our respects. We were there and paid our respects by being there and being present. So that's good enough.
Exactly.
But what an experience. It's very sad. It's unfortunate. None of us wanted to ever have this happen. As I talked about in the video the other day, Lisa was a very fragile person. She had not been well physically for a long time. Her son's death was catastrophic on her and her health. And not that we expected her to die, but it wasn't a huge surprise either. It's always surprising, but it's not so surprising. It's hard to articulate this properly. We didn't see it coming, but when it happened, it wasn't super shocking. She had looked really frail and in poor health recently. And it was very sad that we had to be there for this event, but I would not have wanted it any other way than to be there. So.
Yeah, exactly. And what can you really say? We were able to get there and make it happen.
It's an experience you can never get again. It's
Exactly.
a one-time event, and it can't be repeated. And there was just no way I was missing it. So
yeah, it was the main point of this adventure this weekend. The other things were all just cream on top of the pie. Not that this was really good pie, but
it's hard to say this gently without coming across the wrong way. So I'm kind of trying to tiptoe through this. I'm sure that you understand what we mean. We weren't there to have a big party and have a bunch of fun. That's not what it was about. We actually discussed that during the trip. But we did have a good time. We did enjoy ourselves. And then we had the proper amount of mourning during the memorial and treated it as such. And then went on our merry way. But it was an experience that I will remember the rest of my life. And it's something I'm so happy that I was able to participate in.
And the same for me, but it's compounded because I was able to share it with Rick, with Trudy, with Chrissy, and Henrik, and they're the people that I needed to share it with, obviously, because we came into each other's lives around this time last year, and here we are, had never met each other before, and now we've been to Memphis a couple of times, and Houston, and we've been to Denmark.
Did a lot in a year, man.
I've spent a lot of time here in Vegas.
A lot of money.
A city that I said I would never come back to after my first visit, and
now you're starting to know the roads.
Yeah, exactly. It was meant to be, and today and yesterday they were just meant to be. The whole thing.
Another thing too, and then we'll wrap this up. But it was really nice to just I'm piggybacking on what he said. It was really nice to just hang out with friends and fellowship with people, like-minded people, and just enjoy time together while we all mourn together. And for my silly channel here where I make these videos, I picked up quite a few subscribers while I was there and met a few subscribers when I was there, people that I don't even know. They came up to me and said, "Hey man, I watched all your videos. I love them." So that was actually a nice bonus for me too, So for you new viewers to the channel, welcome in. Tell your friends about it. Let them know. But there are other videos to check out. I did a video about Lisa when she passed, and go check it out. It's worth looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great to just spend time with like-minded people. My brother told me, and he's not an Elvis fan at all. He picks on me all the time about it. But when Lisa died, I put the video up, and he said it's therapeutic and healthy to talk about it. So this was not a party atmosphere at all. We did have a good time, but it was helpful and healthy, I think, to be around like-minded people that are all going through this mourning period of losing Lisa Marie Presley, and we can sit and talk with each other about it and discuss times that we may have met her or saw her in concert or stories that we know about her life growing up. And it's therapeutic and healing for us to do this. So that right there was something that was really helpful for the whole trip. And again, it wasn't a party atmosphere, but it was so nice to hang out with people and just discuss her life and spend time together doing that. So that right there to me is what this was all about. It was to go there and mourn her loss and pay our respects at Graceland, but to also be together with friends and new people that we've just met and discuss her life and her legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And Rick was fortunate enough to have met her a couple of times, and briefly. I was never that lucky, but I was one when she was born, so I grew up with Lisa as part of my life.
We've never not known about her in our lives.
Exactly. You know, from the time I recognized really, I knew Elvis from the time I could basically talk, but when I started looking into the life at like 7 or 8 years old, I learned about Lisa, and so she has been a constant with me for 50 years almost. And
now she's gone.
Now she's not there, and it coming back to it as being once in a lifetime. Neither of us were old enough or in a place where we could have come to pay our respects when Elvis passed away. And this is as close as we'll ever get to that.
For us today was there's pandemonium breaking out on Elvis Presley Boulevard Day. We were there on the premises during a memorial or funeral type environment. It's very similar to the footage you see of Elvis, but the street was packed and the yard was packed, in August of 77. It wasn't quite like that today, but that was our moment in our lives of the death of a Presley and being at Graceland for it.
And as Rick said, the pandemonium, we had 5,000 or 6,000 people maybe. I can't imagine what it was like with 25,000 people, and at one time
humidity
up to 100,000 people closer to the funeral,
Crazy.
Lining the street, and that was, like you said, it was in the middle of August. Today was perfect. The weather was just perfect. It was not too cold. It was not hot at all.
It wasn't windy.
The worst part about the day was the ground was wet,
muddy,
and kind of muddy because of all the trampling, and that wetness permeated. Like, it didn't get into my shoes, but the cold from that wetness you could feel.
Yeah, our feet were cold.
And I had on boots, and I can't imagine what it was like for all the others who were wearing sneakers and stuff. It's like it would have been so much worse because the material on that would have gotten wet from the grass. But yeah, it was the closest we will ever get to what happened in 77, and still, it at least it was kind of organized a little bit. And
two, when we had several hours. We were about 2.5 hours prior to the start of the service. Or no, 2 hours prior to the start of the service when we got up there. And so we're surrounded by people that we don't know that just happen to be standing next to us, and a few people we did know. And so now we've exchanged contact information with those people and added them to social media platforms and stuff. So all these things come together, to become friends and share stories. And to me, that's what it's all about. We went there to mourn the loss of Lisa Marie Presley and share in time with like-minded fans. And that circle grew a little bit today because of that.
Yeah, the experiences and the stories are what are going to help keep not just Elvis's, but Lisa's memory alive for decades to come. As long as there are people like us and the people that we were around who are willing to put aside anything and talk to each other about these folks. And it doesn't take much, you know, like, how long were you a fan? You know, it was like, is usually the first thing either of us ask somebody, and then we let them tell us about them, and go from there, and interject now and then let them learn what we've got, you know, because we're kind of, to some respects, maybe next level fans. You know, it's like, we're no better than them. I'm not saying that, but we have been in the game for a long time, so we have some of the things that are desirable to some of the fans that are just beginning. And it doesn't matter whether you've been a fan for 50 years or 5 minutes, you're a fan, and we're all the same.
Speaking of fans, I think it should be noted in this video too that during the memorial today, the only person that mentioned the fans was Priscilla Presley, and she thanked all of us for coming out. And I did take note of that at the time. Not a slight on anybody else, because they were there to do what they did, and they did their part. But she actually specifically went out of her way to mention the fans, and she could barely speak. And she thanked all of us for showing up. And I thought that was a class move by Priscilla to acknowledge the fans and thank them for showing up. Mm-hmm. And you know, Elvis would quite often say, "Hey, they were the ones that put me up on that hill." Well, we were up on that hill today with them, and it was very gracious of her and a respectful move for her to acknowledge us. And again, not a slight on anybody else for not doing it, but I did take note at the time that she went out of her way to acknowledge us and thank us for being there, and I thought that was a classy move on her part.
And she mentioned that she was surprised at the turnout, because obviously they didn't think or know that Lisa Marie would have the draw power that she has. She is so connected to the man that we all admire, and
well, she's the last direct link, and she's gone now. You know,
exactly.
So, anyway, we're gonna wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
We're all tired. We want to make a quick video to just kind of go over what we experienced in the last 22 hours. And then as soon as I click off on the video, I think we're both just going to fall on the floor, fall asleep right here.
Basically.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that crap, and tell everybody, hey, here's a reaction video from the memorial, whatever. But thanks for watching. We appreciate it. No hound dog today. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've been banned from the hound dog, but it's not really
Look, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, see,
there's the hound dog.
There's the hound dog.
We're not doing the tagline today. We're trying to be a little bit more respectful. So, but anyway, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time with another fun video.